I have read 60-ish books so far this year, maybe more by the time this is out, because obviously these videos are pre-filmed and pre-scheduled. And surprisingly, and this is a great thing, not many of them have been awful. There's been a lot of 3 stars. I feel like the more books you read, the more kind of mediocre books you'll stumble across, because not everything is gonna be brilliant and amazing or up your street, even if you think it will be. But there's not been many that have been genuinely so bad that I can't comprehend it, which I had quite a few of last year. But I wanted to go through the ones that I do feel were bad, and there was only 4. There's only 4 of 60-ish, so I think that's pretty good. And there is almost like a ranking of like which one's worse and which one's like the least worst, but I will go through them randomly and I'll explain. The first one is Madame Sosostris and the Festival for the Broken-Hearted. I think this was by Ben Okri. I had such high hopes for this. I loved the concept. It was sent to me on NetGalley. It was just such an awesome idea. The cover was stunning, the blurb was great, and then you read it and it's almost like the blurb is describing a completely different story, because the story you're reading is so shit. It's so bad, because it's basically a woman decides to create a festival for the broken-hearted because she's divorced or something, but she's also in a marriage that's really shit, and then her friends are in a marriage that's shit, and there's no depth. There's literally 0 depth to these characters, none. You don't know anything about them, so you physically can, like, you emotionally cannot get attached to them by any means. There's just nothing to them, like literally like putting your hand through someone and they're a ghost. That's what it was like. And this, I love when a book, like a romance, is like 75% dialogue, okay? Because I feel like those kind of tropes and things like that kind of call for that kind of dialogue, and I think you can get away with it. When it's a lit fic, it's contemporary, it's supposed to be not even mysterious, but like a story, like something's going on, there's a depth to something, there's a bit of a mystery. You need to have at least 25% non-dialogue. The entire book was dialogue. I'm not joking when I say that. 95% of the book was dialogue. That's no exaggeration, I'm so serious. And the dialogue in itself, this is coming from I have a degree in script writing, so I pride myself in writing and understanding good dialogue. I think it is key. It's absolute key to film, to TV, and of course to books. The dialogue in this was unbearable and just so fake. It was basically him trying to be, all these characters to be very deep, but by saying nothing. And I don't even mean like they were like having rants or like monologues or anything. There was none of that. It was like 1-word sentences back to back. Like each character had a 1-word sentence back to back, and they were all like puzzles. It was like, what are you trying to say? What does this mean? And I thought I was going insane, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'm just not in the right mind to be reading right now. Like, so I feel like my brain is not putting one plus one together. But then I looked at the reviews, because I believe that this is not out yet. It's an arc that I read, and I read the reviews, and a lot of the people who gave it 3 stars or less said the exact same thing, where it was very forced, like attempting to be very deep dialogue, but it just came across as like really bad. There's a quote I really wanted to get up because this person who rated it, can't remember what they rated it, but they reviewed it, and the way that they said it was so like spot on. I was like, this is exactly how I felt. Let's go here. Yeah, so it's got majority 3 stars. Unfortunately, 𝙃𝙀 rarely within the dialogue says which person is speaking. I told you, it doesn't even say like said so and so, it literally is just dialogue. Other than at the very start of each conversation, perhaps the instruction to read slowly at the start of the novel is precisely because the reader will otherwise endlessly not be sure which person is speaking, particularly when there are lines and lines of supposed wit and banter without an obvious character delineation linked to each statement. For example, in a conversation between 2 husbands, and I'm going to read this to you so you can understand. This is copy paste, okay? It's not, there is no said by, this is just all you know. This is all you know. There's 2 husbands, they're not together, it's 2 husbands of the other characters. I knew an astrologer whose wife was cheating on him. Why couldn't he read that in the charts? I knew a healer who was always getting a cold. My dermatologist had a bad skin condition for years. It gives you known confidence. I had a banker friend who was always asking me for a loan. Did you give him one? At the highest rate of interest. He still hasn't paid me back. I knew a mechanic whose car kept breaking down. I knew a poet who never had a pen on him. Was always borrowing mine. Made you wonder. That's the dialogue. I can't. I cannot make it up. I can't make it up. And you can tell, and I haven't looked into it, but I have a feeling, this person also gave it 2 stars. To be fair, I kind of want to give it 1, but I feel so bad. But I have a feeling that the author, and I'm going to have a quick look now, is a poet. Yep, literally first thing it says, poet. Ben 𝙃𝙀 was born in, yeah, I knew it. It very much gave a poet attempting to write a novel for the very first time. And I'm sure that this isn't his first novel. I don't think it is. But nonetheless, it literally came across that way. It was like someone trying to be deep and poetic and prophetic and like all these things, and it failed at every single one of those things. And I think he needs to stick to poetry, because I can, like I said, I didn't know that, but I could tell there was a poet there, and he should just stick to what he knows, because he's clearly good at that. This was not it. It was so bad for me. It was just awful. I hated it, unfortunately. Moving on to, I'm actually gonna find my review for this, because I went through a phase of not really reviewing books, like doing like detailed reviews. I've never really liked doing long detailed reviews, but I felt like this one needed it. This is what I wrote. I gave this 2 stars as well, because the thing is like, I think I give 2 stars, and someone, again, I'm gonna bring this up again, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos recently that I am too generous with my stars, and I agree, but it's because I feel bad. But I think it's also because I really enjoy the concept of so many of these books that are bad. Like, I love the fact that someone's thought about this and like come up with this idea. I think that's awesome. You know, especially for ones like Madame Sosostris and the Festival of the Broken Heart. It's such a unique kind of cool idea. So I get really disappointed, but then I'm also like, but they thought of this, like, do you know what I mean? Anyways, this is what I wrote for the next book, which is Revenge Puck, which says literally everything that I need to say, by L.A. Hart. This was not well written. 99.9% dialogue. Are we seeing a theme? Are we seeing a theme? And the MMC and other male characters were the most toxic people. There was literally a sentence that said, "It was nice to you me." which was obviously meant to be, it was nice to meet you. I know this was an arc, so errors are bound to happen, but there was way too many to ignore. I'm self-published, and I have in my book, in one of the batches, not in all of them, of my printed physical copies, I have a spelling error. It misses one letter. And I went through every single book and penned it in. And I just feel, and I obviously, like, for the next batch, like, corrected it. It was literally just because I accidentally pressed a backspace. And I know also that when you, because it wasn't in my arc, the error wasn't in my arcs. So when you have arcs sent out, they're not going to always be 100% perfect, but if they have that many errors, it's so concerning, because it makes me think either you're self-published and you need an editor, which is totally normal, and maybe you can't afford one, also totally valid and normal, or you've had an editor, whether you're published, like self-published or trad published, and somehow several people have missed these awful, like, things that would make me go back to a bookstore and ask for a refund, because it wasn't even like nice to met you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just missing an E. It was nice to you me. And I just and again, yeah, it was just, I hate toxic male characters. He was not protective, he was abusive, like emotionally abusive, controlling asshole. And again, 99% dialogue, no exaggeration, 0. I want to see what other people have said. Funnily enough, though, I will say, and it's because I think this one's out, this has a higher rating than the other one. The writing was very dull. It didn't have any flavour to it. Not so good writing is not something that scares me as long as I'm enjoying the story, but after 35% of the story, it also became boring to me, and mixing that with the flavourless writing just turned this fun read to a not so fun read. I got no connection with the characters, and the relationship just turned weird. I wish the writing had a little bit more to it, so we had the opportunity to get to know the characters. Damn, people really put like a lot of effort into their reviews. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying the same thing. They didn't like the writing. This is funny. I DNF'd at 18%. I was 9% in, and she was asking to see and feel his stick. It's a hockey romance. At 18%, after meeting for once for 5 minutes, he was talking about how much he liked spending time with her, etc, etc. It's true. They literally met for 2 seconds and he was like, I'm obsessed with you. I was like, okay. Started to like the characters less and less. I thought this was a debut author, so I was really trying to give grace, but when I saw this was an established author, New York Times bestseller according to the bio at the end, I was shocked. It felt like there were full scenes completely cut out without thought, and the ending felt very rushed. Yeah, so a lot of people were saying the same thing. It's like the writing is just very bad. Like the concept in itself is good, there's nothing wrong with it. And it is very much so like you're not going to it for like a literary masterpiece, but still. You expect like I said, I literally thought that this was a self-published book. But the fact that this is a New York Times bestseller, this has gone through a trad publisher, several editors probably, 1 million ARC readers, and it still came out with that many errors is beyond me. And in general, even without the errors, it was just crap for me. It wasn't for me. Then we have And He Shall Appear. I will say, I think this one was the least worse out of all of them, but it still fell really short for me, and I'm wondering if And He Shall Appear, if I wrote why. Didn't write one. But a lot of my friends also gave it 2 stars. Pure and utter trash. Oh, 100%. Okay, so I completely agree with this person. This is exactly what I was gonna say. This book very clearly tried to be a version of Secret History, Picture of Dorian Gray. It was very, very clearly taking pure inspiration from that. Like, the story was almost near a rip-off, right? But we see that a lot, and also I think there's an argument to be had about originality and how hard that is when so many books have been read and written and whatever. So that pushed aside, it was so obviously trying to take from that it failed even more, because it wasn't trying to be its own thing. You're reading it and you're like, this is just trying to be the Secret History, and then as you're reading it you're like, this is so much worse than the Secret History. And also it makes you just like lose respect, I guess, for the author and the all of it. All of it, really. This person here on Goodreads said, I just feel sick of replicas and would dearly appreciate something brand new and original, something with its own charm. Imagine if in the synopsis there wasn't an inspired by the Secret History, instead something raw and unseen, no matter how bad it is. And the fact that it says that, and then you read it and you're like, this is just, it's just a replica. Like, it's not even inspired by, it's just full-on bad replica. Makes me feel a bit ill that we have those, like, these kinds of stories being traditionally published. Like, someone literally has to go ahead and pitch to a publisher and say, this is fully inspired by the Secret History, but all the characters are different, it's not related, it's not linked, obviously, because that would be a copyright infringement, and I might as well be writing really bad fanfic about it, minus the sex and smut, that is usually in fanfiction. Will you publish me? And they go, sure. I just feel like we need to have tad higher expectations and marks we should be hitting. Aside from that, my problem with it wasn't just that. It was that, but it was also everything again was so forced. It was painful. It was painful to read. And the thing is like, you can tell the person writing this is why it was like the least worst out of all of them, is a good writer. They can be a decent writer. There wasn't any errors in spelling and, you know, fucking basic shit, right? But there was none of that. So it was more so, this is just not your story and you shouldn't be telling it because you're failing at it as well. And so you need to come up with your own original idea, because you still have a skill and you need to use it in the right way. So for me, it was the way it was written. The characters were so fucking like bored, like they were so boring, so idiotic, so annoying, unbearable. And like, I know people like that, but I don't mean it in like the, oh, this is female rage kind of way. It was just like men being awful. Do you know what I mean? It really just wasn't hitting for me. The narrator is, as others have noted, insufferable. He is. And I feel like it was done on purpose, like he was supposed to be like this impartial narrator of someone that you're not meant to like or love, but because I think you almost feel that way with the Secret History, where, you know, you don't love this character, but there's almost like a connection with this character. And these characters aren't necessarily good, but you still have these connections, and this just failed at that. Yeah, see, people are agreeing with me. The writing of this book was good, but the plot and characters were just dull. So that was, I like reading these. I don't usually do this because it validates like what I'm feeling, and like the thing is, I know people are gonna give it 5 stars and enjoy it and it be their cup of tea, but I like knowing that there's also a crowd of people who read this and thought the exact same thoughts as me. Finally, This, and I'm not joking, was the worst. This was the worst, and the reason this was the worst for me, oh, I actually gave this a 1 star. The writing style was confusing and not descriptive enough. I found the book lacked the cute Valentine's Day small town vibes I was hoping for. It took me ages to get into and ultimately didn't live up to its expectations. Okay, I need more detail. That was the other 1 star. Right, okay, so a lot of people also requested this on NetGalley like I did. I think all of these actually were on NetGalley, I'm not gonna lie. For the same reason. The cover of this book is so pretty. It's a really pretty cover. If you also kind of like love the kind of art style of like the romances at the moment, not like the people, but like the art styles, you too will be drawn to this cover. I think it's very pretty still, but it's completely deceptive. The fucking the title is Deadlines and Valentines. So and the picture is of a bookstore and a dog. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, there's going to be something about deadlines in a bookstore and it's going to be based in Valentine's and there's going to be a dog. I don't remember a dog coming into it once. That might just be my bad memory. Valentine's was brought up once. Seriously, once. This wasn't a romance. And when you put Valentine's in the title and the entire cover is pink with hearts, you're misleading so many people. Because even when I read it and I read that it might be a bit of a mystery, I was like, that's still my thing, but like it seems there's some like romance in there. There's none. Zero. Absolutely zero. There was no deadlines. There were no deadlines. 0 deadlines. The entire plot was about an event at a bookstore with several authors, and they just start dying. Each one just starts dying, and there's no story. It was so bad, because I think what makes this the worst, because like for example Revenge Puck was written worse, I guess, or like edited worse, and what was the other one? Oh, Madame Sosostris was also written badly, but you can almost see how and where that they go wrong. And also, like I said, concepts are still like up my street. This one had no concept. 0, none. There was nothing there. It was about nothing. It was so hard to get into. I hated the characters because I was like, who are these people? I literally don't know any of these people. I'm not getting attached. I'm not feeling this like whatsoever. Like, just someone help me out here. I don't understand. And it's just such a deceptive like cover title of the book that it is, and even the blurb probably is deceptive. Should we read it? Fern Valley is ground zero for all things romance. The town has pulled out all the stops for the first Valentine's Day Love is in the Air book festival, with events like Death by Chocolate, author speed dating, a character masquerade, which literally doesn't. That sounds interesting, right? It's people wearing a mask for like 5 seconds. It's not an actual masquerade. And a male cover model fashion show. That didn't happen. I really do not think that this happened. Everything is candy and roses until sparks start to fly. Jules, that again, this is deceiving. Sounds like exactly like a romance, right? Until sparks start to fly. Jules Keane and her team are at the glamping resort, spending their time trying to tamp down fiery tempers because opposites may not always attract. When a popular author with a heart of gold is found murdered, Jules has to find the culprit before more than just hearts are broken. So you can see like throughout the blurb, there's a repetitiveness of Valentine's Day, heartbreak, love, opposites attract. Like there's really a drive in the blurb as well of like, this is also a romance, or like several romances, like not just one romance, but like several different like stories of love or something. No, it's just about death. It had no story. You can't tell from that, can you, what that's actually about? You can't, can you? Exactly. It was just shockingly really bad. And I hate books that deceive. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And by deceive, I mean in title, cover and blurb, because I think you've got to read all, you see those 3 things to make a judgment before picking a book up, right? You can't just look at the cover and assume. But I read the title and the blurb and looked at the cover and I was like, this sounds up my street. I love a murder mystery, but I also love a romance and I want to see how this is like. It's a bookstore, it's a small town, it's cozy. None of that was in it. 0. So that's where I'm at with bad books. Literally 1 to 2 stars maximum. If I could do less, I would. I hate to hate on authors because I'm an author and I understand that this is people's livelihoods. A lot of these, I think every single one of these people, however, is trad published, so I don't feel like shit because I'm not shitting on a self-published person. We need to be more picky about what we publish, please. Please, for the love of God. Thank you. Thanks. Those are my thoughts. I love you guys so much and I will see you in my next video. Bye.